Hey, coaches. Welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Season 2, episode, I believe it's episode 5. And today we're going to be talking about building an offense based on series football. To give you a little background on this, and I was thinking about it, now a lot of you experienced coaches, guys have been doing it, not necessarily as long as I've been doing it, but doing it long enough, you probably don't even think about it. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's got over 20 years in the business, and he hadn't thought about it. It's just ingrained in him. He played for a good high school football coach and played a little college ball, and it's just always the way it was. You have a system with a group of plays, several groups of plays that are similar. And I remembered, one of the best examples of that is the wing tee with all the different, the bug and the down, the belly. These are not plays, but these are series. These are groups of plays, families where everything looks alike. And I got to thinking about back when even before I was a coach, when I was still in college, I used to have notebooks. I'd buy these spiral notebooks and just fill them up. Like I have one, nothing but wishbone plays. And nothing but I formation. I fell in love with like what Clemson was doing when Danny Ford was there. And Tom Osborne started doing it in the 80s out at Nebraska with the option out of the eye. And I had a playbook of those. Just made my own playbook. And every play, and I don't know where I got it from. I know I just didn't come up with it. But every play, had a play that off of it. And I came up with this concept that I didn't come up with it, but it dawned on me. I learned it from somewhere that you got a base play, you got your counters, your misdirections, maybe a reverse eventually off of it. You got your play action pass, and if appropriate, you got a boot. And you may have more than one play action pass. Technically a boot is a play action pass, a boot pass, like the Waggle. But a lot of young coaches, they collect plays, as if this is a cool play. They'll send me stuff, and they'll say, "What do you think about this?" And I say, "Well, that's good, but what are you going to run with it?" And I'm not being critical, but you need to understand that you have to set the defense up. So we're going to be talking today about designing an offense based on series football. Okay, remember to send your questions and comments to siegel.chip@gmail.com. siegel.chip@gmail.com. Also, remember, go over to Facebook if you're on Facebook and join Football Talk with Coach Chip and get involved in the conversation. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm on Twitter @ChipSiegel. And that even from time to time gets kind of hot and in a good way. All right, don't forget our sponsors, as always. Johnny's New York Style Pizza over in downtown West Point, Georgia. If you're on the interstate between Atlanta and Montgomery, as you cross the Chattahoochee and you're hungry, if you're going toward Montgomery, take a right and just drive, and you'll hit it in about 2 miles. On either one of those exits, the Georgia exit at West Point or the Lynette exit when you cross the river. If you're coming from Montgomery, headed to Atlanta, take a left, and you'll go to downtown West Point and Johnny's New York Style Pizza. I'm thinking Johnny's. And don't forget my beautiful bride, Tammy Pierce Real Estate. She's gone right now showing property. Call the lady. You'll find her on the internet. Just all you got to do, if you'll type in Tammy Pierce Real Estate, it'll come up, PineMountainGeorgiaLiving.com. And Right Equipment Company out of Birmingham, Alabama. They do more for high school football and high school sports in general. Go over to Alan Creasy's Facebook page and look at some of the pictures that he has of weight rooms around the country. It's not just Alabama weight rooms, and they've got weight rooms out in Utah. There's some in North Carolina, Arkansas. They're all over the place. Remember, that's Right Equipment. Train the right way. All right, designing an offense based on series football. What do you need? And I've already mentioned it. I mentioned it in my intro. You need a base play. Whether it's the zone, okay, whether it's old school lead, okay, if you're running, if you're a spread team, you're going to run the inside zone, outside zone, okay. A lot of people make them where they look alike, so they're in the same family, okay. And you may want to have a counter or a misdirection off that. If you're running, like you've got the wing T guys run the belly and then have the wingback counter coming back, okay? or the halfback counter coming back, a little zero counter back up the gut with a tackle trap. Okay, your spread teams are going to run a lot of GT counter. Okay, off their zone look. All right, there's got to be a base play in order to have a offense based on series football. And you can have multiple series. Don't get me wrong. I'd say 3 or 4 is good. Some, the smaller level you go, like the rec leagues and the junior high, you can run probably 1 series. And I'll show you a great one that we used to do back in the 90s when I stepped away from the varsity because of some family issues and went down and coached junior high. And we ran the Rocket. At the time, we called it the Fling, and that was the whole offense. Everything was off the Rocket. The only thing that was not technically off the Rocket, but it looked like the Rocket, when we ran option because we were in the spread bone look. And so that motion was very similar to the defense. And it was basically one package. Everything came off that Rocket motion. But you got to have a base play. You got to have a counter or misdirection of some kind off the base play. And then you got to have play action pass, which could be a boot or it could just be a play action pass to make for a good series of football. Okay? But understand this. Running a misdirection or reverse off a play that you don't run as a staple play, that is not going to stress the defense as much as you think. It's just not going to. Because first off, all of a sudden you just get in a different formation and you run a reverse or a counter or some kind of misdirection. Well, you haven't set them up. You got to set them up by running your base play. Some coaches talk about constraint plays, keep them from hitting that base play in the head. You've got some kind of counter or pass off of it that constrains the defense to keep them from just pinning back their ears and teeing off. All right, one of the best series of football ever is the buck trap series from the wing tee. I know a lot of y'all are spread guys and into the modern stuff, and I am too. I'm into the modern stuff, but I can't get away from these roots. Okay, I don't care if you believe in coming out there like Mike Leach and throwing it 40, 50 times a game. Mike Leach's passing game has series. He had all the stuff, so much looks like verts, and then they break it off or they read and sit down in grass and things like this. It looks the same to the secondary, just like this look. You got 3 plays. Really, you got more than that. I just went with a 3 that fit into what I say are the must of having a series. You got the trap, and some people believe the buck is the base play, which is fine. Okay? You got the trap, fullback trap. You got the buck to the running back. Okay, I'm pointing at it with my laser. All right, you got the fullback trap. You got the buck to the running back. And then you got the waggle, quarterback waggle right here. And I didn't draw it blocking. This is not about that. You can go back and look at several other videos and figure out blocking schemes. But this is a good series. One backfield action threatening 3 points along the surface of the defense. That's a good series. All right, now the defense has to play honest. The middle of their defense has to be solid. They have to defend the middle. Right here, off tackle, a little bit outside off tackle. And then you got a passing attack going the other direction. So you got 1, 2, 3. They can't load up. They've got to be honest. I'm telling you, defensive coordinators can say what they want to say. They're tickled to death that teams have gotten away from wing tee. Okay? Tickled to death. All right, zone series from 2x2 spread. All the plays start with the same action. Y'all want to give some love to the spread guys. All right, look here. You got your zone. You got inside zone. Okay, I drew everything like that one way. Inside zone. Then you got your counter off inside zone. And you may not run it that way. That's fine. Okay? Then you got your play action pass and your boot. Okay? And you got your wide receiver screen. And I'm just making stuff up. It's whatever you want to do. Remember, I tell you all the time, it's like cooking and salt. Season the taste, baby. But my point is, you got to have similar plays. Homer Smith, when he was the OC at Alabama, they were under center, but they threw a lot of one back. Very similar to what you saw Miami doing when Erickson was there, back in the late 80s and early 90s. Like one back trips and a lot of zone, a lot of outside zone. Get this. They had every time that quarterback came from under center, he would seat that ball, just like a wing T quarterback on the buck pack. He'd seat that ball, okay, and run back at the same angle over half the snaps, unless it was pure drop back. And the running back would take that slide step, run inside zone, outside zone, okay, or counter after he made that slide step. Quarterback taking the same step, seating that football. Go back and look at some old Peyton Manning when they were under center, the way they ran that stretch. Very similar to that. And sometimes they'd banging that thing in the A or the B or the backside A, running zone. Sometimes they were pushing it, pressing that tight end's heels, running the outside zone to stretch. And then sometimes they were running counter, and then you had to play action off of it, and you had to boot off of it. So you got all of this. See, when the defense has to look, especially your linebackers and your safeties, when they're seeing the same action over and over and over and over again, they don't know where to go or what to do immediately. Okay? They don't know where to go or what to do immediately because everything looks the same. All right, the jet series. You know I had to get the jet in here, guys. Come on, now keep on jetting. All the plays start with the same action. Okay, you got the jet. Okay, right here. Okay, then you got the Q power off the jet. You got the play action pass off the jet right here. You got the counter, and that counter can be the tailback, or you can empty that joker out here, try to get leverage, which is going to be our next episode, talking about leverage. And run quarterback counter. Okay, see if you can get that box a little soft. All right, then you got a screen off that. You got backside slant off that, a little access throw off the jet when they want to come in here and cheat. All of it looks the same. That's one reason I love the jet action, because the defense has to react to it. Okay? All the plays start the same. They look the same. I love that kind of stuff. Okay? The power series, very similar to the zone series. If you're a power team, notice I got the H or the F, whatever you want to call him, in the box. You got your power. Boom, right there. You got your counter. Be your GH counter or your GT counter. You got your play action pass. Stick it in there, drop back, boom. You got your boot, and you got a wide receiver screen here too. And I think that's such an easy thing. You can work on screens separately. What goes on in the backfield is not going to affect your wide receivers on your screen. So you can have them over there with the wide receiver coach working on their screens, letting the quarterbacks go back and forth, and all this kind of thing. And then you have a play, off your base running play, you got a screen. We love to run the screen the last few years off the buck action, just, the sweep in front. All right, because they see so much buck from us or wide sweep. So you got all these things that look alike. And notice, see, all of it looks like you just don't go in there and say, okay, I'm going to run inside zone. Then I'm going to run the buck because I've always loved the buck. The buck's cool. And then I'm going to get in the eye or the one back and use motion and run the triple. Well, guys and gals, you're running 3 different offenses. You really are. And you don't have any, rhyme or reason to what you're doing. You need to have a series. And you can't do it all. You can't do it all. I have a article/essay that I wrote. And I'm going to post it online eventually on the Coach Chip Facebook page. And if you want a copy of it, send me an email and I'll send it to you. And it goes in a little more detail. It's about 2 pages long, page and a half, in which it outlines how to install an offense that makes sense. One that will stress a defense. All right, you got to think of it. It's like scaffolding. For those of y'all a lot of y'all that watch this aren't professional educators. I'm not talking down to you. You work a real job. You're in the real world. Okay? You're not behind those ivory columns of schools. I've been in education since 1985. Okay? And we have to go to these meetings, even though we're coaches, we have to go to these teacher meetings and things like that, professional development. And we learn about stuff. We always did this too. Like in football, I would call this small to big. You start small, like you teach them one part of the block, then you go to the next part, the next part, the next part, and then you finish. Remember I was talking about with our zone series, how to teach the blocking. Start out with a fit drill, and you're teaching them just one part of the block, and then After 3 or 4 drills, you got the whole block in. That's kind of like scaffolding for the offense, though. Okay? You put in your base play, and you build from there. All right, so down here at the bottom, you got your foundation. Folks, you're not going, if you go out and you build a house, and you start with the roof, you just put your poles up on the side, your corners, and then you put all your roof up first, okay, your trusses, and then come back and try to put in your foundation, you're screwed. What kind of sense does that make? It's the same thing with football. You know, there's certain rules of life that are rules of life. All right, so each play builds on the previous play. Okay, so you got your base play down here. Then you got your counter. Then you got your boot and your play action pass. And then once you get these mastered, and believe me, you don't want to go on. If your base play in your series is going to be inside zone, don't go to counter until you got the zone down. You know, don't put in the boot until you got the base and the zone and the counter down. And then you put your PAP in. And some coaches rather have the play action pass before the boot. That's fine. And some coaches, if you don't have an athletic quarterback, but a guy with a good arm, you may want to not have a boot. The boot and the PAP kind of go together. But definitely you don't put the roof on before you build your foundation. And TP, that's the roof. Trick play. I mean, kids love trick plays. Coaches love trick plays. They break the monotony. Good thing, 5 minutes, end of the day. Work on your trick play for the week. Or work on a different trick play every day and just have them in your arsenal as you go through. But remember the 3 musts when you're scaffolding this thing. Going back to what I started with. You got to have a base play. Okay? Whether it's trap, buck, inside zone, belly. You got to have a play you start from. You got to have a counter or misdirection if you're going to do a series. Okay, you got to stress the defense. You really want to stress linebackers, and you want to stress perimeter people by making everything look alike as long as possible. And then you got your play action pass / your boot, and then you move on to your trick plays. But you got to have these 3 things. You don't have to have a trick play, especially right off the bat. Base play, counter, some kind of play action, boot or whatever. All right. Now, I put this in. You go back to season 1, episode 16, look at the rocket toss stuff. And there's 2 or 3 videos on it, stuff off the rocket and all that. Okay? I love this because this series has everything. Now, if you want to, if you're really fast, the toss part of it, like Navy runs, will be your base play. Or the belly be your base play. I had people ask me years ago when we were wing teeing it and running the rocket in the belly. Our running back was running for over 2,500 yards, and our rocket guy was running for about 1,500. I tell you no lie, 2013. And we were just scalding people with rocket and the belly. And they said, well, what is your base? And I got to think about it. I said, wow, they're kind of 1A and 1B. And it also depends on what the defense is doing. But these 2 were at the base. The first day, the rocket went in. So what we do, we put the fullbacks, okay, what most folks call them, down there working on belly. And then we'd put the rocket guys down there and quarterbacks working on rocket. So the quarterbacks would go back and forth working on running the belly and then flinging that rocket toss out there. All right, so this is a great series because everything looks alike. All right, now you got your tail motion. He's hauling butt, faking the rocket, tail back, running back, taking that jab step like he's about to run belly, sticks it, comes back, and you got counter. You can GT it, you can GH it. It's good stuff. The boot off the counter. You've got a good fullback, and you've run that counter pretty well. It's just like running I formation counter with boot. Okay, it really is. Now, our running back was really good at 12, 13, 14. And what we would do, we'd cheat him back an extra yard and even called him a tailback. Okay, because he was a good, if we'd have been an I formation team, he'd have been the tailback. And the H kid would have been the fullback. The boot off the counter. And then we have the wingback counter off the belly where you got that hard motion. Notice every one of these looks just like that hard, fast motion from the back. Zipping, faking that rocket. fullback, taking that slide step, coming downhill, faking the belly, and then you're counter blocking this thing. Some people just pull the guard and kick. Some people pull the guard and the tackle. You got enough people to pull the guard and the tackle because your running back will get that D in, and you get a back block with that center. This guy jab steps like he's going outside to block on rocket to reach somebody, then comes back underneath the quarterback. And that jab step is to give that fullback a chance to clear and come right back underneath. And everything looks the same. Let's go back real quick. Just watch it. Toss. Belly off toss. See how? Counter off toss. Boot off counter. Still hadn't changed. Everything looks the same for the first step or two. Even more to some degree. Wingback counter off belly. PAP, play action pass off toss and belly. Okay? An effective offense is not just a collection of plays. Come on, people. Running a misdirection or reverse off a play that you do not run as a staple play will not stress the defense. Not near as much as you think it will. Oh, they're in this formation. They're in I. They're going to run power. They're going to run lead. Plays in a series should look alike as long as possible. They should look alike. Homer Smith, in one of his books, he talks about this. And he kind of got it from Tubby Raymond, the wing T guru. Making things look alike as long as possible. All plays in a series should be similar and off the same basic action in the backfield. And if you can do things on the line that look similar, that's why the zone series is such a beast. You know, it's hard for those linebackers to tell the wide zone from the inside zone on that first step. Okay? So, that's it. I'll keep it short. Send questions, comments to me at siegel.chip@gmail.com. Siegel.chip@gmail.com. Visit and join Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook. On Twitter, I am at Chip Siegel. Don't forget our sponsors. If you're near downtown West Point, anytime. Tell you what, stop in there. Tell them Coach Chip said to give you a complimentary order of them garlic knots. Get them loaded. And just tell him, I said, next time he's back in, he said he'll make good on it. Okay? Get you and say it's from Coach Chip. Don't forget Tammy Pierce Real Estate. Come on, folks. Call the lady. And our buddies up in Birmingham at Right Equipment. Trained the right way. Okay? Now, y'all, again, I wasn't fussing. I just don't understand sometimes what people are thinking. And we'll watch game film and go, what the crap? You know, and I hadn't been a defense coordinator in 20 years or longer. But if I go against somebody that's got just a hodgepodge and a grab bag, and then when you call plays, you grab bagging. Because you're not setting anything up. You need to have a family of plays, a series. And you have more than one. You have 2, 3, 4 series. But it needs to be a family. Several plays with a base, counter, play action of some kind. And then you put a trick play in. And you put multiple trick plays in. I've had good young coaches that are part of our staff in the past come and say, hey, I got this great play, coach. And I say, oh, I like that. And we sit there and try to fit it into. We're not going to get a different formation. Okay, we'll empty stuff and all that. But we're not going to do a different formation and do something just different. Just for the sake of doing something different, can we make it fit? And that's what we try to do. Ooh, I like that. When I was wing T and we had a wing and attached tight end, like I would see stuff on TV and I said, oh, can we do that? Oh yeah, even though they were spread, we can do it because now on the backside we got the tight end and wing back doing what the backside on their spread did. You can do it. You can do it. Okay, but if you can't make it fit in, there used to be a friend of mine told me in a league he used to be in a high school league. He had this coach, they called him Monday Night Football. Because back when we were kids, Monday Night Football was a big deal. And when I was a young adult, it was a big deal. And everybody did something special on Monday Night Football, offensively. Used to love to watch the Cowboys on Monday Night Football because they were going to do some kind of trick play at some point, usually in the first half, because they knew the whole league was watching. It was time to show off and show out on Monday nights back then. As before, we had football all the time, and now the market's saturated. But Monday Night Football was a big deal. And there was this coach in the league. They called him Monday Night Football. They said, watch Monday Night Football, and you know what trick play to get ready for if you're playing him that week. That's what they said. Don't be that guy, not unless it fits in. All right, that's it for this episode. All right, next episode, we're going to talk about leverage on offense, especially from the RPO pre-snap access game. The post-snap RPO, pre-snap access pass, that's going to be episode 6, talking about offensive leverage. Got a lot of input from coaches all over the world, thanks to social media, giving me their ideas about access and some good definitions. And I mean, I knew what it was, but we'll see what all they had to say. But until next time, thank you for tuning in. Share it. Go to my Facebook page, Football Talk with Coach Chip. Go to my Twitter, @ChipSiegel. Email me questions, comments. You want to see something on the on the podcast, on the YouTube channel? Tell me. Okay? And we'll see what we can do. But until that time comes, remember what I say. Be elite.